Hey, it's Dave from Doing Things with Dave. So today I wanted to talk all about cruise gratuities, what they are and why they matter. So I've seen a lot of videos and content recently about tipping on cruise ships. And today I wanted to wade into the discussion with my perspectives and experience. So let's start with the basics. Almost all cruise lines will assign a daily gratuity to each passenger. The amount will vary based on the cruise line and the cabin. A suite's going to be more than, say, an inside cabin, but generally the cost will range from about $15 to $20 to $25 per person per day. Now that daily gratuity is designed to do a couple things. One, it's going to cover your cabin or stateroom attendant, the wait staff in places like the main dining room and the buffet. Obviously, each cruise line will do things a little differently, but generally that's what that daily amount's going to cover. Now, there are two ways you can pay your daily gratuity. The easiest way, from my experience, is to prepay when you submit your final booking payment. Usually, it's about 4 months out from your cruise sail date, or in my case, since I book my cruises super late, within a month, or in some cases within a week of the sail date. Now the second way is on board the ship. Once you set sail, the cruise line will bill your onboard account each day for the daily gratuity. The second way is, however, what causes some problems and what I want to talk a little bit more about today. Now let's start with this. Each cruise line will in fact allow passengers to remove the daily gratuity. If you're one of these people, please stop. Yeah, please stop. Stop removing your gratuities. Yes, there could be a very, very rare circumstance. Say your room hasn't been cleaned for a week. There's trash everywhere, or your room steward is incredibly rude, or your waiter spilled food on you and didn't apologize. But honestly, those are false narratives. The amount of times that's actually going to happen on a cruise ship is extremely rare. Instead, some folks just choose to remove the daily gratuity because they don't believe in tipping, or they feign ignorance on the fact that the cruise line does this, or they're cheap. Now, the argument could be made the cruise line should in fact pay a better wage and we shouldn't have to fund it via gratuities. That's another false narrative. If wages are increased, cruise fares are going to be increased, right? Simple economics. And let's face it, the demand for cruising is sky high. Miami and Port Canaveral each had over 8.5 million passengers in 2025. That's just two cruise ports. Now, they're the biggest two cruise ports, but think about that. Cruising, the demand, sky high. So, back to the second way gratuities are paid, the daily charge to your onboard account. Here's what seems to happen. Cruisers seem to see the charge, maybe on day 3 or 4. They're like, what is this? They go complain at guest services because they don't pretend that they know what it is. Even when you pay up front and you board or sign your cruise contract, it's super clear what the daily gratuity is. But these folks demand to have the daily gratuity removed, directly hurting the staff who work incredibly hard to make your cruise vacation amazing. Let me say that again. Directly hurting the staff, the crew, who work tirelessly to make your vacation amazing. Think about that for a second. But Dave, I had a problem on my cruise and I'm mad. Okay, that happens. I had an excursion in Panama where the tour guide left us at the visitor center. Now, luckily, we were able to get back. But you know what I did? I went to the excursion desk and explained what happened. I didn't ask to have my gratuity removed. I asked for some specific help about the excursion. You know what the cruise line did? They refunded my money for the excursion. The right thing to do. Problem was resolved. The problem was resolved. So in other words, if you have an issue, go to speak to guest services. They generally are going to help you. Don't just automatically say, I'm going to remove my gratuities and impact the people who are probably working really hard to make your vacation amazing. Don't punish them. But Dave, it's expensive. Yes, it is. Budget for it. But Dave, I'm from a country that doesn't tip. Okay. You're on a cruise ship that caters to the American public. Tip. If you're somewhere else in the world, say you're in the Mediterranean, and that's not standard, that's a different situation. But I'm talking about cruising in the U.S., around the U.S., where a massive amount of cruising happens and a massive amount of people are saying, I'm going to remove my gratuities. Don't do that. But Dave, these folks don't deserve it. They already get paid. These folks work 12 plus hours a day, 7 days a week for 8 months far away from their families. Treat them with respect because they deserve it. Okay. Now out of the way of making sure you don't take off your daily gratuity, since you are going to pay it, do you need to tip more? Well, I think the answer there kind of depends. No, you do not need to tip more if you don't want to. Full stop. Pay your daily gratuity. You've done your responsibility. But there are some things to think about and consider. So let's start with massages and specialty dining. Now, if you get that, those tips are going to be included. Those gratuities are going to be built in. It's going to be clear that that's included. Now, some cruise lines will offer included specialty dining where the gratuity is baked into the cost. Others, you can use your onboard account. You can pay whatever the fee might be, whether it's an a la carte or a fixed amount, and then the gratuity is going to be added. Now, if you buy a drinks package or get drinks directly from your onboard account, gratuity is going to be built into that. These are all standard practices that the cruise line does. So the gratuity for those sorts of services, massage, specialty dining, drinks, they're all built in. You're paying that full stop. But in my experience, it's not a bad idea to bring a little extra cash. And here's the way I approach tipping some of the key people on the ship. Oh, and before I kind of highlight what I think is a good practice about tipping, here's a few things I don't agree with and I don't think you should do. You've probably seen some pictures on social media where people will spell out thank you in $1 bills on their bed on disembarkation day. Sounds really cool. It's an Instagrammable moment. Here's the challenge with that. Number one, you're making the cabin steward attendant do extra work when they're trying to clean your room. Sure, they appreciate that. Who wouldn't appreciate some cash? But you're making it a little bit harder for them. Number two, don't tip in weird denominations. $2 bills, that's stupid. And I'm going to tell you why it's stupid. $2 bills are very uncommon. They're not used in circulation all that often. They are legal tender, full stop. But the reality is, if that crew member goes home, they may not be able to use that $2 bill, or they try to spend it somewhere in one of the islands. They may get accused of, hey, that's a fake piece of currency by someone who doesn't know. Give them traditional currency amounts, $1, $5, $10, $20. Make it easy for them. Don't make that even harder. So get rid of those sort of cutesy type things and instead give them cash that they can use. Now, here's who I think you should tip and when. Your room steward. As soon as your cruise cabin is open, 2, 3, 4 o'clock on embarkation day, and you have the chance to go in your cabin, if you see your room steward, give them $20. Or in the case when I went on my Panama Canal cruise, I gave them $40. Basically, about $2 a day. Now, they're already getting the built-in gratuity, right, from the prepaid service charges. But I love to give them a little extra and say, I appreciate everything you do. I'm not asking them for anything special, although I may have a request, but I'm giving them cash up front. Now, you know what that usually does? Not only does it make them feel a little bit better, but it also means they're probably going to prioritize my room. Maybe clean it earlier. If I'm out and I've got that clean my room, light or sign up, chances are they're going to come do that. Now, that doesn't mean they have to, and I'm not expecting that, but I'm doing that because one, I want to say, hey, I appreciate all the work you do, but two, there might be a benefit for me because they're going to clean my room a little earlier. Now, second, this one probably a lot of people will get, is your favorite bartender or bartenders. Now, if you like to have a few drinks, making friends with a bartender is a really good call. Now, for me, I sail a lot on NCL. There's a couple of bars that I generally like to go to. I'm a fan of Maltings, the whiskey bar, and when the ship has the district brew house, I'm going to probably spend some time there. So generally on day one, I'm going to have a beer, or maybe I'll have an old fashioned a little bit later in the evening, and I'm going to give that bartender $20. Full stop. The reason I'm going to do that is I want to, again, say thanks for the service. I know it's going to be great this week, but I also want them to know who I am so that when I walk in the bar and it's crowded, 9 times out of 10, I'm getting a drink brought to me. Now, the other secret is making sure you tip your bar waiters. Those are the people who will cut through the lines. They'll cut through the clutter. They're like, hey, Dave's over there. Get him his old fashioned. Boom, it's coming up. Now, during the week, I will tip them $5-10 here and there, probably every other day. And then at the end of the cruise, probably another $40 to $60. Now, that's a lot of money. Sure, I get it. But these are the guys who are making, or people, I should say, these are the folks who are making my vacation amazing. And since I like to have some drinks, this is something that I think is a really good idea. Now, if you take an excursion, whether it's through the cruise line or a third party, I think a smart decision is to always tip the excursion tour leader, $5 or $10. If it's a great excursion, maybe you do 20. And again, you use your own judgment there, but I think tipping them a little extra goes a long way. In my Costa Rica excursion on my Panama Canal cruise, the guide was absolutely phenomenal. He was so knowledgeable. He gave us so much great information. He showed us so much about the crocodiles and all the wildlife in the Tarcoles River. So I gave him $20 because I genuinely appreciated the experience. Now, absolutely you must do this one. Tip your porter on embarkation day. The guy you hand your bag to. Give him $5 or give him $10. That will help ensure, even though he's not doing very much in terms of moving your bag from your hand to a cart, it's making sure that it gets on the ship. Do it. And then, if you've had a great dinner experience or an amazing spa treatment, now those, again, tips are already built in. But if you feel like something's amazing, certainly you can tip a little bit extra. A specific example for me, I do a lot of work travel to India, so often have Indian rupees with me. I got a massage, and during our conversation, I found out that my masseuse or therapist was from India, and her contract ended at the end of the cruise. She was getting ready to go home. So I asked her, I said, this was a great massage. I'm going to give you a tip. Would you prefer dollars? Would you prefer me to add it to my room account, or would you prefer rupees? And she looked at me and she said, you have rupees? I'm like, yeah, I give you the same, amount in rupees as dollars. So basically like $40 worth of rupees. And she said, oh, that would be wonderful, because again, she's traveling home. So having some local currency for her was a bit more of a game changer, something that she could use as she landed, maybe to get a little bit to eat, maybe get a taxi or an Uber. And now I know India is very mobile phone, micropayment centric, but having a little cash was a big deal for her. And so that was something I did that worked out really well. Now, I'm going to end it with this. Cruising is truly an amazing experience. You get on a ship, it's a combination of hotel, fine dining, tons of bars, lots of entertainment, all sorts of fun. And you go to cool places to explore, relax. Again, lots of fun. But cruising works because the crew on the ship, they work incredibly hard. Tipping is the right way to say thank you for all that you do. So in closing, a couple of key thoughts. Number one, pay your gratuities. Prepay them for sure. If you choose to pay them on the ship, do not remove them. Don't be cheap. Don't be that person. And if you want to, tip the staff who make your experience even better directly. Okay. That's all for me. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day. Go Giants. Go Big Blue. Let's beat the Commanders. And I'll see you on the sea.